Your wife finds you dead in an Indian hotel room in December. You are 30 years old. The death certificate says natural causes, complications from a chronic illness you've had for years. You flew to India to open an orphanage, or so the obituary will claim. Your body is cremated there, locally, before any Canadian identification procedure can take place, before any formal autopsy, before anyone asks too many questions. Your wife flies home. And 3 weeks later, 185,000 customers of Northvault Exchange, the largest crypto trading platform in Canada, learn that their money is locked forever. $190 million gone, because the only password to the cold storage wallets existed in your head, and you are dead. At least, that is what they say. But let's go back. Back is 2013, Vancouver, and your name is Connor Elms. You are 24 years old, a self-taught programmer with a natural talent for appearing trustworthy. You launch Northvault, a crypto exchange built for Canadians who want to buy Bitcoin without reading a white paper first. The market is young, regulation is loose, the competition is almost non-existent. You are first to install Bitcoin ATMs in Canadian shopping malls, bright yellow machines where people can feed in cash and walk away with digital coins. Simple, accessible, yours. The business grows. Not because you are a financial genius, but because you showed up at the right moment in the right country. Bitcoin in 2013 through 2017 rises so fast that any platform where you can buy it becomes popular automatically. Customers bring money. You accept it. Monthly volumes climb. Northvault becomes the largest crypto exchange in Canada by trading volume, and nobody asks too many questions about how the internal accounting actually works. The most dangerous moment for any financial house of cards is when it looks like a successful business, and looks that way long enough for everyone to believe it. How the internal accounting works is this. You, Connor Elms, founder and CEO, are the only person with access to the cold wallets where the majority of customer funds are stored. Not as a deliberate policy, just how it evolved. You built everything yourself, wrote the code yourself, set up the wallets yourself. There is a small team, but they do not have the passwords. Customer funds and company funds are commingled in ways no external auditor can untangle. Client deposits are used to cover operational costs. Withdrawals from old customers are quietly covered by deposits from new ones. Later, investigators will call this a catastrophic failure of governance. That is one word for it. There is another word. But we will get there. 2018. Bitcoin hit $20,000 at the end of 2017 and is now falling, first slowly, then all at once. The bull market flips bearish. Northvault customers start pulling money out. Some are locking in profits, some are nervous. And here is where it starts to unravel. Withdrawals are delayed, first by days, then by weeks, then by months. The official explanations rotate like stage sets. First, technical issues with banking partners. Then, frozen accounts due to regulatory review. Then, we are working to resolve this as quickly as possible. Customers write to support. Support responds with form letters. Reddit threads fill with people comparing wait times. 1 week, 3 weeks, 2 months. Some people joke. Some people start losing sleep. Some people have their life savings on the platform. Meanwhile, you are planning a trip to India. The stated purpose: to open an orphanage in Rajasthan. You and your wife, Diana, fly out in early December 2018. You bring your laptop, the laptop with the passwords on it. He flew to India with a laptop containing every cold wallet password and no backup copy anywhere on Earth, because no backup existed, or none that anyone could find. December 9th. You are admitted to a private hospital in a northern Indian city with severe abdominal pain. December 11th. You are dead. The cause of death listed is complications from the chronic illness, a flare-up, fast and fatal. The body is cremated in India before any formal repatriation process. Local authorities sign the documents. No detailed forensic examination takes place. Diana flies home to Vancouver. She notifies the Northvault Board of Directors. The board notifies the customers. The customers notify each other. And then, the forums do not explode with grief. They explode with a question that nobody can shake. How is it even possible for a financial company with hundreds of millions in client funds to have a single password inside a single human skull, with no recovery protocol, no succession plan, no backup, no nothing? The investigation begins fast. The Ontario Securities Commission appoints a major accounting firm as liquidators. Auditors walk into Northvolt's systems, and what they find makes headlines across every financial publication in the world. The cold wallets, which supposedly hold the bulk of customer Bitcoin, are empty. Not partially drained, not mostly there. Empty. Every wallet the auditors can identify contains nothing. The Bitcoin is gone. Not locked behind a password, gone. Moved out, in some cases years before Connor Elms died. The blockchain does not lie. The transfer records are public, traceable, time-stamped. Hundreds of millions of dollars in customer assets were quietly redirected out of the cold wallets and into a pattern of transactions that investigators will spend years unpicking. The cold wallets were not locked. They were empty. Every dollar customers thought was safe behind a password had already been moved, long before anyone boarded a plane to India. There is more. The liquidators discover that Northvolt had been operating as a de facto Ponzi scheme for at least 2 years before the founder's death. Withdrawal requests from existing users were being paid out using deposits from new ones. Customer balances shown on the platform did not reflect real holdings. The accounting was not just disorganized, it was fabricated. Internal records show that Elms had full knowledge of the shortfall and continued to accept new customer deposits regardless. The laptop, when Diana eventually hands it over to investigators, is almost useless. The cold wallet software installed on it is an old version. The wallets it references are already empty. The passwords it contains open doors to rooms that have nothing in them. The narrative that everything was locked behind a dead man's password begins to dissolve under examination. Because a password implies something is still there to unlock, and nothing is. A former Northvolt employee, speaking anonymously to a financial journalist, puts it plainly. The password story made everyone look in the wrong direction. We were all asking how to open the vault. Nobody was asking if the vault ever had anything in it. The creditors, the 185,000 people who trusted Northvolt, gather in online forums, then in legal filings. Some of them are day traders who lost a few $100s. Some are retirees who put their entire savings into Bitcoin through Northvolt because the yellow ATM at the mall seemed official enough. Some are families, some are people who took out loans to invest at the peak of the bull market. The legal process moves at the pace of legal processes. Grinding, slow, expensive. Court filings stack up. Class action lawsuits land in multiple jurisdictions. Years pass. The customers waiting for resolution watch the price of Bitcoin, the very asset they lost, climb back up and shatter records. If their coins had simply stayed in cold storage, they would have been fine. More than fine. The irony is precise and merciless. They did not lose their money to a market crash. They lost it to trust, the most expensive word in finance. A forensic team examines the remains in 2019. The identification is confirmed. The man in the cremation certificate is, by DNA analysis, the man who founded Northvolt. He is dead. This removes one theory, but it does not explain where the money went. A dead man can be genuinely dead and still have been running a fraud for years before dying. The two things are not mutually exclusive. So the investigation pivots from, did he fake his death, to the quieter, harder question, what exactly was he building, and when did he know it would collapse? The answer, as the evidence assembles itself over years of litigation, is this. He knew. The internal records show correspondence where Elms himself acknowledged the growing gap between customer balances and actual holdings. He moved funds. He covered withdrawals. He kept accepting deposits. And then he flew to India and died. Whether by coincidence or by timing, or by something in between that the evidence cannot quite reach. Here is what nobody talks about enough. The dead man's password framing, the idea that this was a tragedy of poor security practice, of one overworked founder who forgot to write things down, was accepted almost instantly by the media, by the public, by many customers, because it was a story that made sense. Founders are sometimes careless. Startups sometimes have no succession plan. It happens. And that story, true or not, did something useful for everyone except the creditors. It made a possible fraud look like an accident. It transformed "he stole your money" into "he didn't have time to leave instructions." Sympathy instead of outrage. Confusion instead of accountability. It was, whether deliberately constructed or simply convenient, the perfect exit. What Northvolt left behind was a reckoning for the entire industry. Proof of reserves became a standard demand. "Not your keys, not your coins" moved from cypherpunk slogan to mainstream warning. Regulators across North America and Europe pointed to Northvolt in hearings as the definitive example of why crypto exchanges needed the same custodial standards as banks. Every major exchange operating today with audited reserves and third-party cold storage owes part of that structure to what happened in Vancouver. He built something that collapsed completely, and the rubble became the foundation that everyone else built on top of. The customers recovered a fraction of what they lost, cents on the dollar, paid out years later, after the liquidators took their fees. Some people had moved on by then, some had not, some never will. The forum threads where they gathered in the early weeks of 2019, comparing notes and waiting for answers, are still online. You can read them. The timestamps run from confusion to anger to exhaustion to something that looks eventually like acceptance. The kind of acceptance that is not peace, just the place you arrive when there is nowhere else to go. You sit in that Indian hotel room, in the version of this story where you are Connor Elms in his last hours, and you know everything. You know the wallets are empty. You know what is coming. Whether you knew you were about to die or knew something else entirely, only you know, and you are not talking anymore. The yellow ATMs still stand in some Canadian malls. Different company now, different name. The machines look the same. People walk past them every day without knowing any of this is why. Drop a comment. Would you have trusted a platform like this at its peak? Or does something always feel off before it falls? And if you want more stories like this one, you know what to do.